So now that we are able to save our quarks, what we are going to do is we are going to list them below our input area so that we can see the quarks that the users just saved or quarked, right? So the first thing that we need to do, let's go into our code and go to our model. Sorry, I said model, to the quark model. So we in the last lesson, what we did is we connected our user to the quark. So we said that a user has many quark. Now we need to do the opposite. So what we need to do is we go to our quark and we will say, okay, it's a new public function, and we will say that the quark has one owner, or it belongs to a user, right? So let's say we create a method called user, and then what we are going to do is we are going to return this belongs to a user class. So this is how relationships are done in Laravel. You can see the user has many quark, and a quark belongs to a user. So it's a one-to-n relationship in Laravel. Now what we're gonna do, we go back to our controller. Let's just open the controller. The quark controller is here. Perfect. And in the index, if you remember, here is where we were rendering our view component with inertia. The second parameter, what we're providing, is an array, and here actually we can pass in any props that we want to send to that component. So actually we can just say, okay, here we are also gonna send you all the quarks in plural because multiple of them, and let's say we want to access the quark. Let's keep it simple for now and just get them. So quark get them all, for example, all. Okay. If we now go back to our page, okay, let's refresh, and we still don't see anything because we didn't say where to put those quarks. So what we're gonna do for now, step by step, we're gonna go back to our component. Remember, it's in resources, JS, pages, quarks, our index resource. What we're gonna do is very easy because we passed in some props, so we can grab them in here. Let's say define props. Just remember this is view 3, okay? So we could just say const props, for example. And the props that we want, let's say these are quarks. We named them quarks, right? So let's have quarks, and it's an array. So we can just say it's an object, type of array, and by default, just null. No, it's a colon in there. Perfect. So we have props quarks. Now we could actually, under our form, this is our form, let's keep it clean. Let's create a div for now with a pre. And here we can just paste in some nice props.quarks. If we reload our page now, here we have all our quarks. Awesome. We only need to loop over them and show them in the page. Go back to our code. What we're gonna do, we are gonna create a new component for this. instead of looping here in the side and making this bigger and bigger, we are going to create a single file component for this in order to have it clean. Therefore, what we're going to do, we're just going to create a new component and we're going to call it Quark. So let's create a new file and call it quark.vue with a script tag. Don't forget the setup in here and a template. Okay, this is gonna receive the Quark itself. So let's say const props, define props, and we're gonna receive one single Quark of type object and the default is null. Okay, I don't want to make this very long, so let's do it very quickly. Okay, let's create a div with a class padding 6, type flex, and with a space to x, for example. Okay, and now if we just print in here, let's pray again and print in here our Quark object. Perfect. If we now go back to our index, what we're going to do here is, instead of printing them out there, we're just looping over them very easily. Therefore, let's just transform this div. For example, let's say that we want a margin top of 6. So this is the container that's gonna hold all of them. So we want a margin top 6 to the form itself. What else do we want? Let's do it like this for now. And now what we can do, we can actually directly use our Quark component. This is our Quark component. Is it imported? Yeah, it auto imported it on top. This is perfect. So that means that now what we can do is just v4. So this will loop over an array or an object. In this case, what we want is Quark and Quarks. So for each one, it will just create a new component. We need to provide a key. The key is going to be the Quark ID. .id. And we need to provide a prop, what we called Quark. And it's just the element Quark that we're going to pass in. So let's go back to our page, have a look. It seems the same, but it's not. So it's not an array anymore. And if we just inspect this, we can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 elements. So this is our Quark element. You should actually, if you are working with Vue, install the Vue developer tools that I don't have installed now. So let's go directly to the extension and open it in the Chrome Web Store and search for the VueJS dev tools. And there it is. So just add it to Chrome, add the extension. Perfect. It's installed, that easy. And now you can just start using it. I'm gonna pin it so that it's always there. And now I need to reload the page in order to see it. Okay, you see now it's green here on top. And I have a new tab in here, or I should have a new tab. No, probably not, because I need to close it and open it again. And there's the new tab, View. Normally I bring it to the front. And this is an extension for the Chrome DevTools in order to debug and to develop with Vue. And here you can see, we can go over it in a later video, but for now, what we can see in here, all the components that we have in place. And here are our 4 Quark components with a key that we provided, what is basically the ID itself. And we pass in the props. So this is the Quark with the ID of 3, Quark key number 3. Perfect. Let's style this a little bit. So let's go back to our component. Let's open it. Great. You see, PHP Storm is awesome. You can just navigate very easily from one file to another, and it just gives you a lot of things nicely, you know. Okay, let's do one thing. So first of all, our component, let's do it flex, and now we also want it to grow. So let's say it's flex 1, of course. I can remove entirely this, and another container. It's just going to be flex. It's justify between, and the items are center, item center. And what we're going to hold in here is, I'm just going to comment this out. Here is our user. Here's going to be the user who posted, the user of the Quark. And below it, we are going to create a paragraph, margin top 4, text LG, sorry, and text gray 900. And here we're going to just put the Quark message. Okay, here we want to put actually the user who posted, and therefore we need that relationship that we defined earlier, but we are not able to show it yet because we didn't load it with the Quark itself. So if we try it, so if we would just try to load the Quark message, for example, it would not work. Let's do message like this and go to our page. So you see, those are the Quarks, but we cannot see it. So basically, oh, not message, sorry, ID. No, users is the one that I wanted. Okay, and you see it's not showing because there's no user. So what we need to do, what we actually need to do, let's first of all create the relationship in order to show this. Therefore, we need to go back to our controller. And instead of calling all the Quarks, what we want to call here is the Quarks with the users. Therefore, let's do it with user ID and name. So this is the relation of our Quark. So remember, this is the method that we created. We want to load the Quark with user and those columns, the ID and the name, not more. Okay, we don't need more, so that's enough. Then we also need the latest. So this is a handy method from Laravel as well. So it gives you in the order from the latest to the oldest. So from the newest to the oldest. And we just call the get method. And now we should have the inverse method, the inverse order for the Quarks. So if we just reload, you see they are inversed because this is the latest and this is the earliest. Awesome. Now we can move back to our Quark component, and if we uncomment the user, it should show up. There it is. You see, this is the user object. We only imported the name and the ID. We don't need anything else. So let's start using it. And therefore, what we're gonna do now is we're just create a div in here. Very simple and easy. And let's create a span with the quack.user.name. And this one, it's not going to be a span, it's just a small one, small tag with, yep, the date. Okay. Quack. We have to create that ad, so we can use that for the date and to local string, for example. This will show up the date in the browser language. It says invalidate. Why? It's create that ad. Okay. Perfect. And there we have it. Now we need to style it a little bit. Let's just say that the span itself is, give it a class, text gray 800, for example, and here we want, I don't know, a little bit of margin left of 2, text small, and text gray 600, a little bit lighter. Let's clean this a little bit up so that it looks nice. Perfect. Let's go back to our browser and see. Okay. And there we have the name and the date. Great. Besides that, I'm also gonna paste an SVG icon in here so that we have some nice feedback in here as well. So this is the message and so on. And that's it almost, right? I mean, there's nothing more difficult than that. This is how we show our, perhaps we could just also give them, let's give them a background of white and a rounded border, for example, rounded MD, something like that, and some shadow MD, or is it? Yep. This looks nice. We only need to separate them a little bit. But instead of separating, I mean, I could just say, okay, margin bottom like 6 here, something like that. That would do the trick. Or we could actually, in our index.view component in here, yeah, I believe it's better. It's better to do it in the Quack. So just like I said, margin bottom 6, and there is that easy. Perhaps we could just give it a little bit more margin on top here so that it's a little bit more separated. Let's say instead of 6, 10. Okay, now it looks nice. Great. So we have created our form in order to create new quacks, and now we are able to also list them in the page. Let's test this directly out. So this is my newest quack. Actually, this should already be put on top. Let's see. And there it is. Isn't that awesome? That easy.